So that means let one say that it be like the Tanakh. Okay? So the third person masculine singular is the big difference. Lamed or Nun. You occasionally have Yud in particular expressions that you take Yehi Ratzon in Hebrew is a very common, we all know Yehi Ratzon in Fanecha. In Aramaic, they say Yehi Rava. That's obviously influenced by the Hebrew, so then they do have the Yud. But generally speaking, you don't have a Yud for the third person masculine singular, but you have a Lamed or a Nun, and the meaning is usually let us do it. The so-called Jasif. In the first person, Echto very often is cohortative. Wow. It's a cohortative. Cohortative means I'm encouraging myself. Right? So it means let me do it. Okay? So those are the two differences to keep in mind in the future. But you see the conjugation is pretty much the same. And except for this, of course, the plural also is either lichtavun or nichtavun instead of yichtavun. But the third person masculine is different. The others are the same. Okay? So let's get back to the text.
Singular plural.
And you have the makes plural.
Nichtov.
Oh, okay, right. Now, as Marsha, my wife, points out, there is a danger of confusion here because nichtov and nichtov are the same word. And the answer is, you're right. You can't tell. You only can tell by the context. It's true. As a matter of fact, I'll make it worse, even though I didn't put it on the screen. But first person plural can also be lichtov, believe it or not, as is it's pretty obvious in the Gemara. It's much rarer, but I didn't bother putting lichtov in because it's usually lichtov. But lichtov, so you have to tell by context. In other words, how to translate Leimit Katana, you could either translate it, let one say it's like the Tanaim, or let us say it's like the Tanaim. Doesn't make any difference really. But technically speaking, you have to watch out for the lichtov, nichtov, and from the context. But usually you can tell from the context, but it won't make a tremendous difference. Okay, so let's get back to the text of Brachot, which you probably have in front of you. So now, I want to say something about the Tzarei V'Nezel. The Tzarei V'Nezel literally means, how long shall we cause him pain, Tsar, V'Nezel, and go? What's going on? Shall we cause him pain and go? What's the going? What's the use of Nazel in this construction? The answer is, there's this very similar thing in Hebrew. Hanukkah is not too long past, but some of you remember we talk about this famous machlokas Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, whether we're Mosei Fa'olech or Pochei Fa'olech, right? What does it mean Mosei Fa'olech? Whether we add and go. No. Olech is a verb that functions like an adverb. It doesn't mean shall we add and go. It means shall we go on and add. Okay? So just like holech in Hebrew is used in a sense, an adverbial sense. It sort of modifies the Moshe. How long should we go on and add? Or how long should we go on and lessen? The same thing here. How long should we go on and cause him pain? This is, of course, means us, means anachnu. How long shall we? Well, I'm sorry. See, I made the mistake myself, which is a great teaching tool. Make a mistake. Here it really means how long will he, Rabbi Gamliel, how long will he, Rabbi Gamliel, continue to bug him, continue to cause him trouble? The reference to Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Gamliel gave Rabbi Yeshua a rough time, and because of that, everybody decided it's time to depose. There was revolutions take place not only in Egypt. There was, in effect, a cultural revolution, and they decided that Rabbi Gamliel was no longer fit to be the Nasi because of the way he treated Rabbi Yeshua and some other people as well. So they said, how long will he continue to cause him pain? And they say, to cause pain to him, to people. Rosh Hashanah eshtaka tzareh. On Rosh Hashanah, eshtaka is a Hebrew word today, but it's really Aramaic. I'll explain it momentarily. Eshtaka means last year. Rosh Hashanah last year, he caused him pain. Eshtaka is an interesting word. It's not a verb, but anyway, I can't resist explaining it. Eshtaka is really a combination of shata, kadma. Shata means year, kadma means previous. Eshtaka means the previous year. It's a word that you'll hear on the radio in Hebrew today. Eshtaka, they use the word all the time. It means last year, but it's really an Aramaic word. So, okay. On Rosh Hashanah last year, Eshtaka tzareh, he caused him tsar, because he gave Rav Yeshua a rough time. That refers to the famous Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah about machlokas having to do with Yom Kippur that we don't have time to go into. B'bechorot, tzareh is the past tense, and we'll take a look. Thank you. We'll take a look at the past tense, and then we'll go on straight with the Gemara. So at least you'll have a little idea of the. Which number? The past tense, I think, is 19. Yeah. At least you'll see at least the three basic tenses. I deliberately went from the present. The present, by the way, is the most common tense in Aramaic in the Bible. This has been pointed out by people before me. And we saw the future, and here's the past. The past works as follows. Ketavit is a little different, usually without the tav. And the Onkelos is with the tav. In the Aramaic of the Talmud Bavli, it's usually without the tav. Ketavi. Of course, everybody pronounces it Kosmi or something like that, but the pronunciation is not so important. As my teacher taught me, how you pronounce it is not so crucial. It's not the most important thing. The content is most important. So it's good to know grammar, it can be helpful, but to make a fetish about it is not so wise. It's distracting. Ketavi means the same as katafi. You see, okay, here's the unit before the tav, here the tav is before the unit. Kataf is basically the same. The big difference is there's a shva under the first root letter throughout, whereas in Hebrew, there's usually a kametz under the first root letter. Okay, that's basically the difference. In the Yinkal, Shleimin, that's the way, that's how it's different. But Ketavit, Ketav instead of Katav. This is either Ketavat or Ketavat. There are two possibilities here. Ketavat is very similar to Ketavat. Ketavna or Ketavnan instead of Ketavnu. Ketavtun, Ketavu. This is a big change. It's rather rare, though, that the U, instead of being suffixed at the end, can be infixed between the second and third root letters, so you have Ketuv. If you didn't catch that, the letter body, it's not that frequent anyway. And Ketava means they wrote. This is interesting because as opposed to Hebrew, where we usually don't distinguish between masculine and feminine in the past tense, plural, right? They wrote is Katvu. In Aramaic, there's a distinction. Ketavu is the usual form, they wrote masculine. They wrote feminine, it's Ketava. There's a feminine ending here. And if one looks hard enough, one can find a case of that in Tanakh as well, at least in the Kri rather than in the Ktiv rather than the Kri, but we won't get into that. Anyway, you see the structure of the past tense of Aramaic is the same. The endings are here and there slightly different. Okay, that's the way the past tense works. So let's get back to our text, and we'll try to squeeze what we can out of the text, and hopefully that will be useful. Okay, so let's start again. How much longer shall he continue to cause pain to him, to Rabbi Yeshua? For Rosh Hashanah Eshtaka Tzareh. And Rosh Hashanah last year, he bothered him, he caused him tsar. V'bechorot, v'maseh de Rabbi Tzadok, which Rashi talks about a bit, but we won't get into. Whatever it is, with regard to something in the second Bechorot, in the incident involved Rabbi Tzadok, Tzareh, he called Rabbi Tzadok. He came Rabbi Tzadok or Rav Frank. Again, I apologize for the fact I'm not don't have time to get into the meaning of the whole story. I'm only into the grammar and purely technical, but some other time you can work on the meaning. Hakanami tzarei. Here too, he has caused him tzar. What's the conclusion? Ta v'na'abrei. Ta, you know ta from tashma. It's an imperative, even though it's color-coded in its future, but the imperative is the right of the future. So, come, it's v'na'abrei, and let us depose him. This is a causative form, which I don't have time to explain the binyanim myself, but anyway, in terms of the usage here, come and let us depose him. Come. Now, of course, come is singular, and abrei means we, because ta is sort of a frozen form, as the Greeks call it. It really should be plural, but nevertheless, it's become frozen as ta. Come. Come and let us depose him. Okay, again, let us. Here it's good. Let us depose him. There, the tzarei is sort of a normal future, right? But here, na'abrei means we. First of all, it's we, and it means it's in the jussive sense. It means let us get rid of him. Let us depose him. Okay, next. Give me the whole text. So then they continue. Man nokim le. Who nokim comes from the root kum. It's actually the equivalent of the Hebrew hifil, and it means who will we set up? Who will we appoint? The manuscripts, by the way, don't have the word lay, and the word lay doesn't make lots of sense here. It's probably better without the word lay. But in any event, ma nokim. Another text says ma nokim betuchtei. Who shall we appoint in his stead? Whichever way. But anyway, it means who shall we appoint? Here it's a normal future. Who shall we appoint? Nokmei l'Rav Yoshua. Shall we, or let us appoint Rav Yoshua? Now notice what happens here. You probably ask, or I hope you would ask, why does it say Nokmei and not Nokimei? What's the A over here?
Him.
It's totally redundant. Okay. So this is what we call, if you eventually see the grammar book, I didn't come here to sell grammar books because they're out of print, as far as I know.
Oh.
But those of you who have seen it, have used it, there's something called the anticipatory pronoun suffix. This A literally means, shall we appoint him? Him meaning him, namely Rabbi Yoshua. In other words, in English, it's a disaster. Right? In English, you don't need it. It means, shall we appoint Rabbi Yoshua? Right? The A is, it anticipates the direct object, Rabbi Yoshua. Of course, the Lamed really introduces a direct object, as it sometimes does in Hebrew. Notably in the pasuk, "V'ahavta l'reach ha'kamocha," point to many Meforshim. Was it "V'ahavta l'reach ha'kamocha"? You should love your fellow man, not to your fellow man. According to many Meforshim, according to many commentaries, "V'ahavta l'reach" means you should love your fellow man. The lamed is sometimes assigned with a direct object, like what? Like et, right? So the lamed just means the direct object here. And in addition, this extra A, nokmei, is a pronoun suffix that anticipates Rabbi Yoshua. It's messy, but it's used in Aramaic very often, and even in Hebrew today.